Hey, it's Avi, and today we're going to go through the entire music production process. We went over a good chunk of this stuff in my last video, but there was a lot that I had to cut out, and I thought it would be a cool idea to make an entire video devoted solely to this so that we can get into a little bit more detail. We're going to go over each and every step, including one that many beginners forget, including myself back in the day. And we're doing this so that you know exactly what to do when. If you're new to the channel, it's great to have you here. Hit the subscribe button and bell below for more videos helping you just write music. Okay, we're doing the entire musical production process from writing to a potential release. Cool? Go. Number 1. You want to draft your song. And what you want to do is to take a couple of sections, like song pieces you've already written, most likely, and start putting stuff together, seeing what matches, and try and come up with at least one A section and one B section. Take a couple of song nuggets, as I like to call them, and just slap them together. Once you have at least 2 sections, it's time to blow this process up in scale when we move on to number 2. Putting together a song skeleton. Just use voice and accompaniment here for now, and have the song sections more or less stitched together. But, you still might need to add a transition here or there. This is a really, really good point to also nail down the tempo or the speed of the song. Or tempos or speeds. Maybe you have a bunch of tempo changes. That's fine too. That's very cool. Cool music. Good stuff. But nail that down here and now. It's going to save you a whole lot of headaches later, especially if you're recording audio. Finally, before we move on to the next step, you want to practice your song with the voice and accompaniment a lot to a click. To the click that you just figured out goes to your song that you want to record to. Practice to that click a lot, like a lot. So once you've practiced your song skeleton a whole lot to a click, and you're feeling really comfortable with that, you can basically play it in your sleep. It's time to record your song skeleton into a DAW. Now, before you hit record, you want to program your tempo or tempos into the DAW, so that when you are playing the click, you can just hit record and focus on playing. If you can, record the accompaniment and the voice separately. It's okay if you can't, but in most cases, you're probably going to have to later, so it's not an awful idea to just do it now and be able to easily re-record those tracks later when we properly track the song. When you're recording at this stage, you don't have to make everything absolutely perfect. There is a time for that, and it's a little bit later on. It's okay to make the odd mistake here or there for the sake of going forward and efficiency with the process. The important thing is you know how it should sound and know you can do that later at the right time. Okay, so we've recorded our song skeleton into our DAW. Next thing, we are going to macro arrange our song. This means choosing the instrumentation or what instruments to add. Are you going to add drums? Are you going to add some bass? Are you going to have a synth, some guitar, some piano, some keyboard, some other instruments like a violin or a string section? Or, oh man, there's so many choices, and they're all amazing, and you get to have fun with that and choose whichever one you want, whichever one feels good for you and the song. Now, I'm going to say this in one sentence, but draft, write, and record as a scratch recording all of the parts you want to add to your song. Start to bring the song to life a little bit. Do lots and lots and lots of experimenting here, and always ask the question, what if? Okay, so we've macro arranged our song, we've got our instruments down, we are starting to, things are really starting to come together a little bit. Now we micro arrange our song. This is when we listen for things that either take us out of the moment or listen for things we can add to elevate the song. This is another great spot for lots of experimentation and what ifs. By now, the song will start really coming together as you finalize both the musical material and the arrangement. Okay, step number 6, now we are going to properly track and record the song. Prepare all the sounds you want ahead of time. Get it to sound exactly as you want before you hit record. You don't want to start tinkering with sounds on recording day. Now we take all of the hard work that we've done on the song and we perform it to the very best of our ability. This is the time to get into the weeds and let every single detail count. Let your inner perfectionist out here. This is the time. This is the time to be super perfect about everything. This also includes the quality of the audio recording if you're recording audio. Make sure that you're using the best mic you can afford, or just a good mic, not the best one you can afford, but a good quality mic, and make sure you're using it in a way that will produce a high quality recording. Even if you're planning to do the proper tracking and recording in a professional studio, having a scratch track like this that's still performed to the best of your ability will be a wonder to your recording engineer. They'll love you. It's going to save so much time and energy, and you're not going to be writing on the spot, and money, so much money of the money will be saved because of this. Prepare everything beforehand, before recording day. Recording day should be going in, recording, and leaving. Done. Okay, so you've properly recorded and tracked your song. All of the instruments are tracked. Everything is tracked to the best of your ability, recorded to the best of your ability, or at a pro studio if you're awesome and doing that type of thing. Cool. Next thing we want to do is the thing that everybody forgets. This is the step that everybody forgets, especially me. I forgot this for the longest time. I just didn't know to do this because I was a self-taught engineer, and that is editing. Now with all the music recorded, it's time to dive into the actual parts that we recorded and make sure that nothing takes us out of the listening experience. This is when we do pitch correction on vocals, we add micro fades to the entrances and exits of our recorded audio, and make sure everything is lined up rhythmically and not necessarily quantized, but sounds together and natural and cohesive. Unless you're working in a studio or studying audio engineering, it's really easy to just miss this step entirely. At least it was for me. Let me know if it was for you too. Maybe I'm the odd one out here. But this is a paramount part of the production process. Sweet alliteration. And don't miss this one. It's so important to getting a professional sound. Okay, so we edited our music. We did the thing that most of us, or at least I, forgot to do for the longest time. And we go to the next step, which is what I skipped straight to, which is mixing. Step 8. Mixing is where we take everything and smash it all together. Now we're actually taking a look at the whole picture of the sound and trying to make it sound the best it possibly can. We're going to level the actual volume of the instruments so everything can be heard clearly. We're going to add EQ and compression, really common processes and effects in order to make everything sit well and play nice with each other in the frequency spectrum. We'll also use reverb, delay, echo effects, and automation to create a sense of a sonic narrative for the whole song and to make every single moment be the very best it can be. Mixing dominates a huge part of the production conversation, and rightfully so. A lot of the creative process does happen there, but you need the musical material first. And without very strong musical material, well, the saying in audio world is, you can't polish a turd. And it's true. Same thing goes for music. You can't polish a turd. So that was step 8, mixing. Next, step 9, second to last step, is mastering. There's actually a lot of confusion surrounding mastering, but mastering is simply preparing a mix for distribution to whatever medium it's going to go to. A medium is like a streaming platform, a vinyl, a CD, a tape cassette, any of those. Those are all mediums through which we listen to music. And mastering is the process which you are technically and sonically preparing the mix to sound the very best it can on all the speakers possible and on all of the mediums possible. Though it's also common to have specific masters for specific mediums. So if you're trying to release a song or an album on vinyl, it's likely that you're going to have to hire a professional mastering engineer to also do a separate vinyl master due to the constraints, the physical constraints of the record itself. Mastering engineers, or rather their assistants, will also take out technical noises, remaining technical noises that got through the mix, like buzz, guitar hum, mouth noises, and hisses, and pops, and fuzz, and a ridiculous array of noises and automatopoeias that we use to describe the noises that are totally out there. And it's part of the mastering engineer's job to get those out of there so we have as clean a recording as possible. That being said, audio repair is not part of the mastering process. So if your recording has a lot of artifacts, a lot of hiss, or it's just not recorded well, be prepared for a mastering engineer to send your mix back to you and say, do this better, before they'll actually master your song. At least a good mastering engineer will do that. They won't take your money. They'll tell you to go do it better before taking your money. Similar types of tools like EQ, compression, multiband compression, tape saturation are also used in mastering, but they're used differently and usually to a far more subtle effect. Finally, the master is completed by bringing it up to the consumer listening level. I said this a little bit before, but I want to say it one more time because it's important to understand. If you're going for pro mastering, be prepared to do mix revisions at the behest of the mastering engineer. Whatever it is, it's always better to fix it in the mix rather than in a master. That's not what mastering is for. In fact, if there's something wrong in the mix, even better, if you can, is to go and re-record the thing that's the problem, because it's also not a good idea to fix egregious things in the mix either. Always get it right on recording day if you can. Re-record it before trying to do any heavy processing, because chances are it's going to create artifacts and it's going to be heard, especially if you're not a professional. If you opt for self-mastering and you want to do some engineering yourself, which is totally cool, the important bit is to not get too carried away and don't overuse the effects, either in terms of like too much limiting or compression or too many big movements in the EQ. Mastering is much more subtle with its effect use. Here's a really quick overview of just a nice self-master signal chain. Add some super light compression, really light, just barely touching, barely kissing it at -1, just to give some really nice glue to the entire mix. It's extremely subtle, but it does do something cool. Next, if you don't want to mess with any EQ, which I kind of recommend not doing if you don't know how to use it very subtly, just skip EQ entirely, go right to a gain plugin, which is going to sit right before a limiter. Now you want to take the limiter, put that as -1 dBFS, and take that's the ceiling, and take the threshold, you gotta put that at 0 or match it at the ceiling, because we're not actually going to use the threshold and bring the volume up via the limiter. We're going to use the gain plugin for that. So we want to bring up the volume using the gain plugin and watch the limiter as we do it, so that we're not hitting it too hard. We don't want to hit anything more than 0.5 or -1 of gain reduction on that limiter. Otherwise, as we turn it up, we're going to actually hear the limiter, and we don't want to hear the effects unless it's nice and warm and subtle, and that's not going to happen, especially for analog recorded instruments. It's just not going to sound like good recorded music. Most importantly, if you're doing self-mastering, get another track out there that's already mastered by a professional, and always reference that for how loud it's going to be and how loud and what things kind of sound like. Try and find a reference track and match that to the best of your ability. If you're doing stuff at home and you're not a professional engineer, that's always the best way to go. Follow what the professional does and do the very best you can to emulate what that sounds like. All right, so we've mastered our track. That's step 9. Last one, step 10. Now we're ready for a potential release. Now that we have all the recording and mixing and mastering done, now it's time to get the word out there, do some marketing, do some promo. If you want to release the song at all, you don't actually have to do this. Step 10 is totally optional. This is when you want to do all the work to get your song out there. Marketing, promo, whatever you want to do. Upload your mastered track to a platform like SoundCloud, CD Baby, Bandcamp, or DistroKid, and get your music out there. You did it. Or conversely, if you're not ready to release, put it in the bank. You got a song in the bank. Time to write another song. Imagine doing this not for one song, but for a dozen. That's why for top-level industry projects from major labels, you have a specialist for essentially each and every one of these production steps. Even the songwriting itself. All right, that's the entire music production process. We went over everything from writing all the way to a release or a potential release. Now, if you're like, dude, this is all well and good, but I can't even start a song in the first place. I have struggles just getting going. Don't worry, I got a tool. I got a tool just for that, to help you. For that exact problem that you just described to me, that I described to you in the video that you're watching just now. I put together a free guide called the 3-Step Song Starter, and that's gonna help you get started writing your next song by creating a song nugget. This is like a singular section of a song that you kind of have just a basic idea for, and you have one of those, and you get another one of those, and another one of those, and before you know it, you have a song put together. Literally, like in the beginning of the process, you only need like 2 to actually start this whole thing and get it going, so do this guide 2 times for 2 sections, you got the start of a song. This is essentially guiding you through step 1, and then you just put everything through step 2 through 10, and you're good. Head to justwritemusic.com/songstarter to get your free copy for free, gift from me to you, and you can start song starting in just a few minutes. That's right. There's a link down in the doobly-doo. Thanks so much for watching and for hanging out with me today. Like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. If I missed anything, let me know down in the comments. I probably did. I'm not like the foremost expert on probably anything. So please let me know if I missed anything or if my advice was kind of off in one way or the other. I'm basing this a lot on my own experience and on what I've learned throughout, well, my career and my experience. So please let me know if your experience has differed and correct me if I got anything wrong. I'm Avi, and don't forget to be awesome.